Hey there, my name's Chris, and I'm about to give you a brief overview of what it takes for me to make an illustration and then use that illustration to create a physical manufactured product. Now, my methods might be different than others. Some people use, if they're creating art, they use a pen and paper or pencil and paper, and they create an image and send it off to a manufacturer. Now, what I do currently is I use something called a Wacom tablet. Now, if you look in the bottom right hand corner of your screen, you'll see me holding up a large rectangular object. Now, that large rectangular object is actually a digital writing surface that I use to translate my pen strokes from that tablet to the application that I'm working in. I use this, which is a stylus, also just a pen that works in the same digital fashion that I'm translating my drawings into to go into the application that I'm using. The application that I use for my illustrations is called Adobe Photoshop. A lot of you are very familiar with Adobe, um, but some of you might not be. Uh, there's something called Adobe Flash Player. There's Adobe Creative Cloud. Um, Basically, this is a web-based service that you can purchase, and I rent my application suite uh, via a $20 payment per month in order to access their tools for creation. Now, it benefits me that I have this digital writing surface because I don't have to take pictures or scan the images that I've drawn into the application to further edit them. Rather, I have this, which allows me to, as you can see the cursor move around, this is me moving my finger around on that digital writing surface, and it allows me to use it as a mouse, also as a way to detect the pressure sensitivity of my drawing. If I want to make lines fat when I'm drawing a picture of something, if I want to give different weight to lines that I'm drawing, then I can press harder. It's a very sensitive product. It's a very expensive product, but this one specifically, the one that I use is called the Wacom Intuos Pro Medium, and it is very responsive and very accurate in reading the input that I'm putting into it. So um, I really appreciate it. It's a very nice tool to have if you're into editing digital photographs or creating artworks of your own. This is a fantastic tool to use, and it really skips the middleman of the drawing, scanning, and then putting it in here to do some final digital editing. Now, what I would do normally on creating a product or creating an image that could potentially be a product, what I'm going to do is I've already opened it, and I use a a MacBook Pro. This MacBook Pro is from 2013, so it's way out of date, but at the same time, it still works for the things that I'm trying to do. So I use it as often as I draw digitally. Now, once I've opened, what I would do normally is I would go to Launchpad and I would search through here and see what kinds of applications are in there. I would go search for my Adobe Photoshop. Then, once I found it, I click on that and it pops this screen up. Now, when this screen comes up, what I'm going to do, if I were just starting a brand new project, I would actually click on Create New, and now you can't see it necessarily because I have two screens going, but on my second screen, I actually have, and I'll show you here, and I can use this digital pen to drag it over. And you'll see that when I clicked on create new, it gave me some options. Now the options that I have are 8.5 times 11 inch. These are the sizes of the canvas that I can use. And honestly, for the most part, I use 8 by 11 because it allows me to take whatever I've drawn and it'll look exactly like what I've drawn if I print it out on regular size printer paper. Because 8.5 by 11 inches is the exact specifications of your average printer paper or your paper stock that you use in your printers. So I'll click on that. It'll open a brand new canvas. And then we have a ton of options here, right? So now that I'm in my brand new canvas, I've got my untitled project that I'm ready to do, but I need to think of some ideas. So normally what I would do in the instance of creating or having to create something that will appeal to an audience, I actually need to figure out the an idea that might appeal to other people. For this specifically, I'm not going to appeal to any idea in specific. What I'm rather going to do is create an image and then show you how I modify that image. And then I will show you the process of submitting that image to a manufacturer of a product. And that's essentially what I use this program for and what I use these tools for. So if I'm going to originally start an image, I'm going to make something, let's say I want to make an emoji, right? So I'm going to start with my paintbrush tool, right? And I can press down with this to make a kind of double click or a left click with a mouse kind of function, which allows me to choose between the different tools that are in here. Now, each one of these with those little arrows in the corners, there are actually several options that you can choose from. And really, I'm not experienced enough with all those tools to really be a great source of information. Adobe themselves have great tutorials that they offer any of their clients, and really you can find them on YouTube if you really want to kind of explore the different uses of tools like pattern stamp or I don't know, background erase tool or art history brush tool. Now, that's not my motivation. Really, my idea is that I'm going to draw a picture and I'm going to make it as clean as I can to submit to a manufacturer in order to create a product that I want to get out to people. So these are my color swatches. This is what I'm drawing with, right? Where my cursor is pointing, I'm going to click on that one in the foreground. And what I want to do, and what you don't necessarily see, is that when I pull that up, when I click that, it gives me absolutely every color combination that I want, right? So if I wanted to do in cyan or if I wanted to do in a lime green, it really, everything, hues, values, saturation, all these things can be chosen within this. So honestly, what I like to do at first is just create like something in just like what would be a pen drawing, right? Absolute black is a color code with 6 zeros. So I like to do it just like I'm doing a pen drawing, just like I would do on a sketchbook. So I take that and say that I want to draw an emoji. Oh man, I'm really bad at drawing a perfect circle. Oh no, my erase color is not white. I'm going to switch that to white. Now, I'm going to go through here and erase because that was a terrible circle. Maybe if I want to create an emoji, then I should probably use a shape tool. And so I might look at this, I might like kind of navigate through here and see, oh, which ones are the shape tools? Oh, here we go. It's a little gray box. And yeah, I'm going to use an ellipse and I'm going to create my circle. Now, this can fill or it can just be an outline. Stroke is the outline, and I might do an actual stroke. Okay, and I'm going to choose black as my stroke. Now I'm going to go back out here and I'm going to be like no fill because I don't want to fill it. Now my stroke, now I've got to think about that. This is 1 pixel, something like that. This is how heavy that line is, like how thick it is. If it's 0, you're not going to be able to see it. If it's super thick, if it's super thin, right? I'm going to choose those to my visual preference, right? So I'm not necessarily going to use any sort of technical understanding of it. I'm really just going to go by what is most visually appealing to me. Now, I have this thing ready to go. I've got my image created. What I would like to do is to be able to fill this. So I'm going to go over to layers, and that shows anything I create is right here, and it allows me to kind of adjust anything as time goes on. Now I'm going to choose to fill this. Since I said I'm going to create like an emoji, I'm going to next figure out a color to fill it with. Now, typically, emoji faces are like yellow. I'm going to use whatever yellow I think is closest. One thing I would like to do though is, since I've already created this image, what I have to do to be able to like manipulate it is I have to turn it into a rasterized image. So I have to rasterize this layer, and I do that by clicking on so once I've opened up layers, I double click, or I use 2 fingers on my Wacom and I just tap, and what it does is it brings up some options for me. So then what I do is I rasterize the layer. Now, while I'm not entirely certain what that means, I do know that once I rasterize something, it allows me to manipulate that object. Now, right now, I can fill it with that yellow that I was talking about. Because I've selected my yellow, the image is now able to be manipulated, and now I can create my emoji. The next thing I want to do is, well, I probably want to put a face on it. And since I had changed it recently to yellow, I can go to a default setting, the default foreground and background colors. I can just click that and it'll give me the black. Now, say I want to make a funny face. The way to figure out how big my pen stroke is right up here, right up in the corner. It's that little circle my cursor is moving around. And then there's also different paintbrush types, and you can really figure that out on your own if that's something you want to research. Now, say I want to do a really goofy face. Oh. Oh. Oh boy. I messed up there. One thing I can do, which I've become pretty accustomed to, is I can actually use on an Apple or a Macintosh, I can use Command Z, which allows me to go back a step. And then if I'm a little bit more careful this time, I can make it so that I actually do it right. Now, I have my kind of like smiley face part here. Now, oftentimes, if I'm shaky like this, like with my drawing, um, I might go through and do some erasing, like right now, I might take that. Oh no, I'm erasing that. But I have my Command Z, and I can fix that. So one thing I can do if I want to erase on that is like when I choose my color, I can actually click on the color that I want there more, and I can draw over my mistakes, right? Now I'm in here, I have some pretty solid lines. My next step is to really just go back to color, my color choices, and I want to make his mouth be a shadow inside. So I'm actually going to use that, and I'm just going to fill that space. Now I can click it multiple times so that it weeds out any bleed or anything that might have separated. Um, and that allows me to fill in that space because I'm still drawing on the same spot. Now for my eyes, it's going to be important that I'm kind of accurate with this. I could use the shape tool again and make ellipses for both eyes, but I really like to make more original um, images. So a lot of times I'll just use the pen function to draw in my own interpretation of what something should be. So this is where I am with that, and I just fill that in. Oh, there's like a little division line. I'm gonna see, you see that yellow there? Doesn't allow me to, it doesn't fully fill, right, that space. So if you click it a couple times, uh, that does uh, that does fill that bleed out space, or the space where colors don't naturally merge. Um, so that's how I do that portion. Now this is a goofy emoji phase, but for the purpose of um, just explaining how I do this, um, it's just going to be important to um, take this with a grain of salt and know that while this is the goofiest thing that I could possibly do right at this moment, it's really for the purpose of instructing you how to take one, your digital artwork, and then two, um, translate it to a product that can be manufactured. So, say this is my, you know what, I'm going to swap the colors and I'm going to fill these parts in white because really your teeth should be white. You should probably brush them more often. So this is my color. So I just swapped the background to the foreground, which the default was white. So I just filled in white. And then this is my goofy emoji face that I'm going to go up to File and Save as, or you can even export as. Really, there are so many options, and I invite you to explore as many of those as you can and learn more about them. Um, I'm going to save this not as a Photoshop image because a lot of times when I'm submitting work to a manufacturer, I'm either doing it as a JPEG or a PNG, This one, I'm just going to go with JPEG, and I'm going to title it Goof Emoji because I don't know. That just seems like a good idea. And so goof emojis just got saved. The next step for me to manufacturing this product is, say, a sticker or a patch or whatever. The next step for me is to submit that image to a website that offers a manufacturing service. So, specifically, I've used Stodry emblems, Stodry emblems. I've used them to produce a lot of different patches for the supporters club that follows the same soccer club I do, and that supporters club uses this site as well. They use it really frequently, and in fact, that's how I heard about it. So you have a lot of options here when you get to their website. You have products with embroidered patches. Look at all these, like PVC patches. It's almost like a plastic. It's real hardy. Oh, you could even do enamel pins or challenge coins, printed T-shirts. There's really a ton of options, and I would imagine you would just go with start an order and featured products. A lot of times, my things have been um, embroidered patches, and so I would fill this all out with my necessary information. Um, you know, you might say you want certain specifications for how tall it is, how high it is, um, your product quality. Um, you would submit your file. What they would do and what they've done in the past with me is they'll create a kind of sample product, and what that allows you is an opportunity to see what it would look at with a sew out, and a sew out would be um, what your image would look like if it were uh, done in thread in a patch form. And in some instances, I've had individuals or like individual products or images that I've created. They might not necessarily have the same color, depending on uh, which colors you're choosing to fill it with. They might not have the proper thread that matches the color that you want, or even the um, monitor that you're using maybe doesn't display color in a fashion that is like able to translate to the physical representation of it. So in their process, there might be some information lost along the way, which is nice that they would offer a sew out or an example of the product that you're wanting to manufacture, because at the end of the day you want to be able to create something that's very like your image, because that image that you're creating, potentially you've already um, presented that to other people, and those people will give you the feedback that you need to create your product. And once you create that product, you want it to match that person or that group's um, desired result. You want it to look like what you presented to them. So whatever you can do in negotiations or talks with the actual manufacturers will allow you to create a product that meets the desired intent. And really, that's my process for creating a digital artwork into a physical manufactured process. While it may differ from person to person, This is the way that I found most effective. I hope this has been informative. Um, Feel free to message me with any input that you'd like me to. I can address any sort of issues that you might see in my presentation. I appreciate any feedback as it allows us to further clarify how to perform tasks like these. And that's why I'm here, is just to present a concise way to produce a product through an illustration. Hopefully this was helpful. Please feel free to contact me. Have a good day.